Hey you guys, so a lot of you were still struggling with comparing decimals. So I just wanted to do a quick little review with you on how to compare decimals. And it's much easier to use a place value chart so you can see everything visually. So I will show you using a place value chart, and then on the next slide we will break it down a little bit further and show you why it is the way that it is using fractions. Okay, so here we have a basic place value chart, hundreds, tens, ones, and then we have the decimal, we have tenths and hundreds. So the first number that we've got going on here is 452 and 78 hundredths, and then we've got 452 and 2 tenths. You could also say 452 and 20 hundredths, but it's the same thing. And once we look at the equivalent fractions, you'll understand why. So I've got two decimals here. I've got 26 hundredths and I've got 4 tenths. And I want to know which one is greater. Now, I know I hear some of you saying, Ms.Pastor, 26 hundredths is greater than 4 tenths because 26 is bigger than 4. However, that is incorrect. And I'm going to show you why. So first, we're going to put it in the place value chart. Okay, and I've got the chart color coded here so that you can see the whole numbers. You can quickly identify them, and then you can see the decimals. I forgot to add this in, so I'll do that very quickly. So you can see the visual representation of them. And I will further color code everything. I will make one number green and the other one purple. Okay, so the first one is going to be 26 hundredths. So there's no whole number, so I'm going to go ahead and put a 0 here. Here's the decimal, the 2 and the 6. Okay. Now, the way we know how to read this is because if we look at the last number of this decimal, it's in the hundredths place. So we know that it's going to be hundreds. It's going to be 26 hundredths. Okay. Now, this next, it will be purple. So we have the 0, the decimal, and the 4. That's 4 tenths. Now, as I stated in the previous slide, I could put a 0 here, and you'll see what I mean in a minute. So when everything's plugged into in the place value grid, so we see that we can't compare the whole numbers because there's no whole numbers. Both is 0. And we're going to compare this just like we would regular whole numbers, okay, if there were no decimal. So there's no whole number, so that doesn't help us any. So now we look at the decimal. Or the next number, which happens to be the decimal number. We have 2 and we have 4. Well, 4 is greater than 2, which means that 4 tenths is going to be greater than 26 hundredths. Now, let me represent this in a fraction and you'll see what I mean. Okay, so 4 tenths. This is going to be 4 tenths. And then this is going to be 26 hundredths. Because, we know because of where it is in the place value grid. Now, if we wanted to, you guys know, if we wanted to compare these fractions, we would have to get them with the same denominator, right? So in order for us to do that, we need to multiply 4 tenths by 10 so that we can have a denominator of 100. And that is going to give us 40 hundredths. So do you see how here we have 40 hundredths, which is equivalent to 4 tenths. So it's the same thing. Okay, if you take off that 1 0 from the numerator and the denominator, you're going to have the same size fraction and decimal. Okay, so when we have this and then we have 26 hundredths right here, we can clearly now see why this one is greater. Okay, because the numerator is greater in this fraction. And we can compare them easily because they've got the same denominator. Okay, so we've got one more that will be probably maybe equally as challenging. Okay, so here we've got 3/10 and 3/100. Okay, same thing. I'm going to plot it in the place value grid. Okay, so now this one is actually a little bit easier to compare because once you put it in a place value chart, it's sort of easy to see why one is greater. So we have 3/10. So we have first of all, we can't do anything with the ones because they're both zeros. So we have tenths. We have 3 here, and then we have 3 here, and then we have 0 here. Okay, and then here we have nothing in the hundreds here. But we know that if I put a 0 there, it would be 30/100, which doesn't change the value of the number at all. Okay, so this shows me that 3/10 is greater than 3/100. Okay, now if we do the same thing, we put it in a fraction. So this is 3/100, which is going to be this. Okay, and this one here is 3/10, which is this one. Okay, now we want to get the same denominator, so we want to multiply 3/10 by 10, so we can get a denominator of 100. So we have 30/100. So we see that 30/100, which is right here, is going to be greater than 3/100 because 30, the numerator, is greater than 3. And remember, we can only compare the numerators like that if the denominators are the same. Okay, so I hope this review has helped you. So now you guys are going to get started on a brand new assignment. It's different from yesterday. And I will see you guys in the live session a little bit later. And if you're still having problems, let me know and I will address it then. Bye.